Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to check out a Magicka grind build for all classes. I will showcase this with the Magicka Nightblade, but this works for all setups. On alcasthq.com you will also find the build with a universal gear setup as well as a skill setup for each class. Nightblade, Sorcerer, Templar, Dragonknight, the Necromancer, Warden, as well as the new champion points, perks. And of course all the important stuff like buff food, Moonstone race, potions and so on. It's all here. I also uploaded an example of me grinding. I put it on my second YouTube channel because it's basically just unedited footage that you can kind of see how I did it, right? Like just a grind example per se. As well as how much XP I actually managed to get, just as a baseline, and some tips. I also do have a full grind guide on the website with 10 grind spots. These are all viable, some are no DLC grind spots, some require you to have a DLC, and so on. There's a lot, also very good ones, as well as some videos too that you can check out. So I would highly recommend checking these out. The most important thing though is like that you understand how to get modifiers so you can increase your XP gained per hour the most. I also do have a grinding category here with all the other grind stuff, like there's also a stamina build. If you want to know how to dolmen grind, you can all find it here. I'll put all the links into the description. So let's start. So like I mentioned before, I'm on a Magicka Nightblade. The stats are more or less like similar on all setups. We just want to get decent health. Now with this update, with the Flames of Ambition DLC and the Blackwood chapter, your stats will look vastly different. Because you will have way more base health, and there is also champion point perks that increase your max health and so on. So please keep that in mind. Like mentioned, I use the Lover Moonstone just to get extra penetration a little bit to kill the monsters faster. We use the Witch Mother's Potent Brew. This is a very cheap buff food or like drink, whatever you want to call it, that you can get. And increases your max Magicka, max health, and Magicka recovery. So we always have enough sustain, which is nice. Potion wise, you actually can use normal potions that drop from monsters, or you can also buy them in the guild store for a very cheap price. Because we already have access. When I was making the builds, I tried to give all classes Major Sorcery and Prophecy. So like Inner Light gives you Major Prophecy. And on a Nightblade, for example, Sap Essence gives you Major Sorcery. On the Sorc, it's Crit Search and so on. So you can use normal potions for grinding. Because nobody wants to spend a buttload of money on potions. These are the basic things. Please. Alchemy medicinal use. Make sure to have this passive. It gives you longer potion duration. As well as in the provisioning. If you're using XP potions, you really want to make sure to have Connoisseur, because this thing will make it last longer. Instead of 30 minutes, it will actually last 50 minutes. There's also a nice champion points perk down here, which gives you another 30 minutes extra duration. So on total you can have a way longer time. I actually tweeted that out somewhere. Yeah, here. You can have like 1 hour 20 minutes on your XP potions, which is really nice. I mean, the base time is 30 minutes, but you can pump it up to 1 hour 20. So that's a huge increase and you can save a lot of money. If you're using scrolls, no problem. Then you don't really care about the provisioning passive or the champion points perk, because the potions always the scrolls always last 1 hour. More on that you will find in the grind guide. I explained all the experience boosters here as well and how many you can get. In total, when an XP event is active, you can get like 360% experience boost. And that's basically how you get these juicy experience points. If you grind with 0% XP gain, like, it will just be a buttload of work. And there is very easy things like increase through gear, training, trade gear, weapon, as a plus membership, being in a group, and so on. You could also marry somebody for another 10%, which helps. XP scrolls and potions, all that really bumps up the value. That's why you can do 3 to 4 million XP an hour if you really want to. So that's this. It's not hard to level up alchemy, and it's also not hard to level up provisioning. There's also a guide on alcasthq in the crafting section, I believe. Yeah, that should tell you how to level that stuff up. Race. Any race works, it really doesn't matter. Of course, a Magicka based race will be more beneficial because you get extra spell damage, more max Magicka and some extra sustain. But, like, you can run any race, it doesn't matter. These are the most important things. And now, when we look at gear, there is a few options. On the website you will always find a tier 1 setup, which is pretty much like best in slot. Then the tier 2 setup, which is easier to get, and then a beginner setup, which is even easier to get. Now, one thing, I do run the Grofdar monster set here. And by the way, if you click on those tooltips, it will direct you over to eso-hub if you need some extra information on all these sets. However, you could also run Pale Order. It's like you just run one piece Grofdar, and then you get the Pale Order ring, and you get another Mother Sorrow piece for the head or the shoulder. The Pale Order ring is very powerful because you don't have to worry about healing. On a Magicka Nightblade, not that big of a deal, because Sap Essence down here gives you all the healing you need anyway. But some classes don't have healing incorporated in their damage abilities. So Pale Order might be a very good way. Then the next important thing, you don't need gold jewelry. You also don't need purple jewelry. Blue or green is enough. It really doesn't matter in the end, right? It's just important that you get as many training pieces as possible. That's why I just run around the False God usually. It's just very easy to sustain. All training trait, you see, if you have gold gear, you get 11%. If you have purple gear, you get 10% per armor piece. So that would be 70% extra experience just by wearing the training trait. As well as more training on the weapon. That's another 9 or 8%. It's so easy to pump up your XP percentage modifiers. The people that don't do that, they lose out on a lot of experience gains. Monster set, I chose Grofdar. In theory, you can use any you want. You could also run Iceheart, for example. I just chose Grofdar because it's easy to get. It's from the base game, from a fairly easy dungeon, and it deals good damage. And then the last set, my usual favorite, Mother Sorrow. It gives you a lot of extra crit, but you can run any other set here as well. I would recommend checking out the website because all the setups are explained. I usually always go with Mother Sorrow because you can buy it in the guild store, you can farm it in the overland zone, and the shock stuff that you can get, this one here, you can actually get that one from a quest. So you don't even need to buy this one in the store. You can do, like I explained it down here. I even made a video on that a while ago showcasing you how to get it. Very nice. So yeah, gear, in the end, use whatever you want. It's just important that you have training trait on your armor and your weapon. I do have full spell damage just to max out the DPS. You always get spell damage on your jewelry. The trait of your jewelry doesn't matter. You can just leave the base trait there, like arcane, whatever floats your boat. Back bar, I do have the Maelstrom stuff. Now, the imperfect version, you can get it from normal Maelstrom, and the perfect version from veteran Maelstrom. If you don't have access to the Maelstrom Arena, just run a second Mod of Sorrow stuff. Problem solved. The only important thing is that you run infused with a weapon damage enchantment. Because you can place your blockade on any class and then swap back to the front bar and it will keep proccing the weapon enchantment. That's basically a free 452 spell damage that you have up all the time. You don't want to miss out on that. And now the big new thing. The champion points, they completely changed. Not everybody has a lot of points. So on this account I have 1300, but I did not spend all the points at all. Like down here you could actually not spend any points and it wouldn't impact your damage at all. The two perks that are nice is Steed's Blessing, because it increases your movement speed out of combat by 20%, so it really makes you run really fast from trash pack to trash pack if you're out of combat. That is very nice. I like that. I also listed it up down here, by the way. And yes, we are also working on a new version of the champion points calculator. It's gonna come at some point. I'm not sure when, but if you follow me on Twitter or you're in our Discord, you will know when it's live. I recommend just working your way down. So start here with Steed's Blessing, then get some points here, 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 and so on. Just from top to the bottom on this list. Because some people might have a lot of champion points, they can get all of them already. Some people might only have a very few, so you could only get the first two. But again, just work your way down the list. So Steed's Blessing and the Rationer if you use XP potions. Any other thing, the only reason we have points in here is because to get to the Rationer perk, I need to invest 10 points here, I need to invest 20 points here, and I need to invest 20 points here. Because if I take out the point here, it's gone. Because I actually need to work my way up the road pretty much to get to the Rationer perk. That's how the new system works. So this one, please don't forget, so it actually happened to me a few times already. Some of the perks need to be slotted now up here, so you can only have 4 active. Some are passive, some have to be slotted. Like this one. Already forgot, beautiful. It happened to me a few times, it's very annoying. And then when you have it slotted, you need to confirm again. It's a little bit frustrating, but anyway. It will tell you at the bottom of the tooltip, add to champion bar to activate. If it doesn't say that, like it does here, then you don't need to slot it. It will be active instantly. Now, the blue one is where your damage will come from. And that's also where you need the most points to really be effective. But this champion point system is less impactful. So even if you don't really have a lot here, you won't do a lot less damage. So a few important things. Arcane Supremacy. Gives you more max Magicka, 1300. There's another perk down here, Eldritch Insight. Gives you another 1040 max Magicka. Untamed Aggression, 150 spell damage. We get more critical chance. More spell damage. Up here, Thaumaturge, more damage over time. More AoE damage through Biting Aura. Extended Might is like a sub tree, so you can click on it. gives you more penetration. Then to get more spell damage down here, we had to also put 20 points in here. So the new system is more complicated, but that's why I say just start up here with Arcane Supremacy, then get Eldritch, then get Piercing, and just work your way down the list. And if you want to change this, like, you can mix it up as well. I might update these again because it's still very early, so we are still experimenting around a lot with the champion points system. That might change eventually. Another important thing is that it's obviously easier to get Untamed Aggression than Wrathful Strikes. Untamed Aggression gives you 150 spell damage, whereas Wrathful Strikes gives you 165, right? So technically I don't even need this for my setup because I have this, right? And I'm already capped out on perks. So I slotted the Max Magicka perk, the AoE damage done because it's an AoE farm build, then the 165 spell damage, and damage over time, 10%. These are all the perks I want for this specific grind build. So I don't need this. You only want to have this if you don't have enough points to get up here. But in the end, I mean, this is 165 spell damage, this is 150. It doesn't matter, right? It's so close together. It's just to really min-max the points. It will get you a while to get used to it, but once you understand how it works, it's really easy, right? It's just a little bit confusing at the start. Especially with slotting the perks. Like, my first dungeon I did on the PTS, I actually activated these, but I forgot to put them into the slot, so I didn't have any of the damage abilities, like perks, active. So you always need to make sure that you really slot these things, because the UI is not really that good. So anyway, just refer to this list. It's way easier to just check this list and actually try to look at this video here. Link in the description. Next up, the fitness tree. Like you see here, we also don't really need that much points. What do you want? So, up here, Boundless Vitality. Gives you 1400 max health. Well, I'm gonna take that, of course. Hero's Vigor, another 1120 health. So that's why we have so much health, right? They also took out the champion points resource gain. So in the previous system, from 1 champion points to 300 champion points, you gained health, stamina, magicka. They took that out and baked it into the base leveling stats, like level 1, 2, 3, up to 50. That's why your base health is like 18,000 or 16,000. That's why it's so easy to get high health. I'm in 7 light armor, by the way, right? 7 light armor. I use the Witch Mother's Potent Brew, and I'm still at 22.7k health. Like, that's just effed up, to be honest. The 2 health perks are obviously important. You also get Magicka, Stamina and Health Recovery perk, which is nice. Then this one, Siphoning Spells. This is very important and kinda makes False God not irrelevant, but less useful. You need to decide for yourself. I just use False God because it gives me Juicy Sustain and the speed buff on the go, right? And it restores 2400 Magicka on kill. The new Champion Points perk gives you 1500 Magicka on kill, which is also very powerful. When you looked at the example video on my second YouTube channel, you will see that I basically don't have any sustain issues at all, ever. Really. This is nice. There is obviously a few more perks that you could get, like this here, reduce the cost of sprint. So if you run around a lot, you will use up less stamina, which is nice to have. There's a lot of nice to have perks. But really the only juicy ones are like the health perks that you want, the extra sustain, the extra recovery. Of course, you could also get this here, right? Another 1500 stamina on kill. Like these two things, I already know they're gonna get nerfed at some point, but as long as they are here, well, I guess we can use them. So the health ones are important, the sustain ones, and the recovery. Anything else is just extra on the plate, but you don't need it. Once again, work your way from top to the bottom of the list. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Now, that was it about the champion points. Skills, I guess we're just gonna go here real quick. Like I mentioned before, the basics of the setup are fairly easy. You want as much AoE damage as possible, so every class will have Inner Light for the Prophecy buff. Every class will have Unstable Wall of Elements for AoE damage. Most of the classes will have Elemental Rage because it's a very powerful ultimate and it just melts monsters. Then every class will have an AoE spammable like Sap Essence or Elemental Ring, right? Puncturing Sweeps can also be used. You could also use Elemental Ring here. Elemental Ring, the Scythe, and so on. You cannot just yourself, but the build is like all the classes are laid out for max AoE damage. Now on the Nightblade, you get a lot of healing through Sap Essence, right? This skill is very powerful. So the healing here is already covered. You don't really need to worry about it anymore. Shield through Harness Magicka. They always see you need healing and shielding and then AoE damage and you're good to go. The nice thing about the Nightblade and the main reason why I prefer it as main grind spec is because Soul Harvest 2. Every time I kill an enemy, I gain a buttload of ultimate. So I can just spam Elemental Rage at some point, pretty much. And I also have healing while I'll deal AoE damage. And pretty much endless sustain. Sorc. Same thing. We get healing from Crit Surge, which is more than enough. And you also have a shield if you really need it. And a lot of AoE damage because you have Unstable Wall, the Scamp does damage, and you spam Elemental Ring. Templar. Shield through Harness Magicka once again, and you get your healing from Puncturing Sweeps. You could also slot like Breath of Life or something like that. And from Repentance, that's more than enough. Healing on the Dragonknight. Draw Essence, you can just get that one to heal, easy peasy. And Harness Magicka for shielding. We use Igneo's weapons to get the spell damage buff. Only reason why we pretty much use it, but also a lot of AoE damage. On the Necro, the Hungry Scythe covers your healing. And is also ulti-gen monster through Necrotic Potency, very nice. Now on the Necro, I actually had to get Degeneration to get the Major Sorcery buff, the extra spell damage, which is a little bit downside, but it is what it is. And on the Warden, you have Living Trailis for healing. The main reason why I talk about healing is because you need something to heal yourself. Of course, you could just slap on your good old friend Pale Order and your healing problem is solved, right? That's the second option you have. I do recommend checking out the website. It's all here for skills for each class, the gear setup, the champion points, all the buff food potions, the grind example, grind tips, the build video will also be there once I actually have done everything. And like I mentioned, if you want to check out my grind example, I was doing this here in Forgotten Wastes, which is one of the grind spots in the grind guide. Let's see, this one here. It's my favorite grind spot. It also has two, and it is a little bit like semi-instanced, because if there's too many people in a public dungeon, the game will create a new instance, right? So yes, it can be full, but it will never be as full as like Spellscar, for example. But in the end, it's up to you where you grind. You have a lot of choice. Everywhere that you can pull together monsters, you will be successful, right? Alikir Desert, Cold Harbor, there's so many good grind spots. Yeah, running in a circle and killing stuff. If you have questions, you can also always join our community Discord. There is plenty of channels here that you can ask questions. If you find bugs or you have feedback, you can also let us know down here. And if you have new articles on the website, etc., you can like just check out everything up here. We have official ESO news, and there's a new YouTube video. If I'm streaming and you want to ask questions, it's all here. So I do recommend joining my Discord. Please also don't forget to subscribe here on my YouTube channel. That would be very much appreciated. Like I mentioned previously, I do have a Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, my second YouTube channel where I upload past live streams. Just unedited footage, easy peasy. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching and have a nice day. Cheers.